The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched wide enough to hold 1,000 beings. Today it buzzed with angry voices from dozens of alien species. At the center of it all sat the humans, looking small and quiet compared to the towering creatures around them. Ambassador Velthar stood up from his seat. His blue scales caught the light as his 4 eyes focused on the human delegation. The Kethani warrior was twice the size of any human, with arms thick as tree trunks and claws that could cut through steel. The human problem grows worse each day. Velthar's voice boomed across the hall. They have taken 3 star systems that do not belong to them. They build colonies where they should not build. They ignore our warnings. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. The crystalline Zephyrians clicked their approval. The insect-like hegemony officers buzzed with anger. Even the peaceful Etherians nodded their glowing heads. Captain Jiwoo Park sat with the human group. She was young for a starship captain, maybe 30 years old, with dark hair pulled back in a simple style. Next to her, Admiral Minho Kim watched the proceedings with calm eyes. Both wore simple blue uniforms that looked plain next to the elaborate robes and armor of the aliens. These humans, continued a voice from the crowd. They fight in ways that make no sense. They do not follow proper military rules. They attack when they should retreat. They keep fighting when any civilized being would surrender. Counselor Thexel rose from his crystalline throne. Light passed through his transparent body, making rainbow patterns on the floor. I have studied their military records, he said. Their tactics are disturbing. They use deception. They sacrifice themselves for others. They adapt their strategies in the middle of battle. This is not how civilized species wage war. Another alien spoke up. On their home world, they fight each other constantly. Brother against brother, nation against nation. How can we trust beings who cannot even live in peace with their own kind? Captain Park felt her jaw tighten, but Admiral Kim placed a gentle hand on her arm. Let them talk, he whispered. Let them show who they really are. The debate went on for hours. Speaker after speaker stood to list human crimes and failures. They talked about human stubbornness, human violence, human unpredictability. They shared stories of human colonies that refused to abandon dangerous planets. They showed footage of human soldiers who kept fighting even when outnumbered 10 to 1. Look at their history, said another council member. They have fought wars for thousands of years. They have weapons that can destroy their own planet. They kill their own species over patches of dirt and different beliefs. These are not the actions of a civilized people. Finally, Velthar called for order. The solution is simple, he announced. We must contain them before they spread their chaos to the rest of the galaxy. I propose a complete ban on human expansion beyond their home system. The hall erupted in cheers and applause. Alien delegates stood and clapped their hands, tentacles, or claws together. The sound was deafening. Admiral Kim stood up slowly. The noise died down as all eyes turned to him. He was not a large man, maybe average height for a human, with graying hair and worn hands, but something in his quiet presence made the entire hall go silent. May I speak? He asked politely. Velthar looked annoyed but nodded. You may have 5 minutes to defend your species. Kim walked to the center of the hall. Hundreds of alien eyes watched his every move. Some looked curious. Most looked hostile. You are afraid of us, Kim said simply. You dress it up with fancy words about civilization and proper behavior. But what I hear in this hall today is fear. Angry voices started to rise, but Kim continued. You are afraid because we do not fight the way you fight. You are afraid because we do not think the way you think. You are afraid because we do not give up the way you give up. We are not afraid of primitives, Velthar roared. Kim smiled sadly. Then why do you need to cage us? If we are so primitive, so uncivilized, so weak, why not let us fly free? What harm could we possibly do to your great and powerful civilizations? The hall went quiet. Kim's simple question hung in the air like smoke. You want to vote to restrict us to 1 star system, Kim continued. Go ahead. Take your vote. Show the galaxy what the mighty Galactic Council fears most, a species that refuses to stay down when you knock it down. Kim walked back to his seat. The voting began immediately. The numbers appeared on the great display. 847 in favor of the ban, 23 against, 12 abstentions. The humans were officially restricted to the Sol system. Any human ship found outside that boundary would be destroyed without warning. Velthar stood triumphantly. The human threat is contained. Let this be a lesson to any species that thinks it can ignore galactic law. The human delegation stood to leave. As they walked toward the exit, Captain Park heard alien voices behind them. Finally, some peace, laughed one. Maybe now they will learn their place, said another. Primitives always need to be taught respect, added a third. Back on Earth, President Yoonji Choi received the news in her office. She sat quietly for a long moment, then activated her secure communication system. Admiral Kim, this is the President. I need you to return to Earth immediately. Bring Captain Park with you. Yes, Madam President. Should we prepare for siege conditions? No, Admiral. We are not preparing for a siege. We are preparing for something much more interesting. When Kim and Park arrived at the presidential complex, they found Dr. Soman Lee waiting for them. The xenobiologist looked excited despite the bad news from the council. They think they know us, President Choi said without greeting. They understand what humans do when cornered. They are about to learn something new. She activated a holographic display showing the solar system. Red markers indicated the positions of alien monitoring stations and patrol ships. They have us surrounded, she continued. Watched, monitored. They think we will either try to break out with brute force, or we will sit quietly and accept their judgment. What are your orders, Madam President? Admiral Kim asked. President Choi smiled. It was not a nice smile. They want to see what happens when you cage a human. They are about to find out why that has never worked in all of our history. Dr. Lee, is the Kuiper Belt project ready? Give us 6 months, Dr. Lee replied. 6 months and they will understand what they have done. Good. Admiral, I want you to coordinate with our deep space assets. Captain Park, you will work with our intelligence division. Let our watchers see exactly what we want them to see. And what do we want them to see? Captain Park asked. Frightened humans, defeated humans, humans who are preparing to surrender. President Choi's smile grew wider. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they have won. Meanwhile, we prepare to show them something they have never seen before. As the meeting ended, Admiral Kim paused at the door. Madam President, they outnumber us thousands to one. They have technology we can barely understand. Are you certain this is wise? President Choi looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere up there, alien ships were moving into position around humanity's home system. Admiral, she said quietly, they made one critical mistake. They studied our military history, our wars, our weapons, but they never studied our most important skill. Which is, we are very, very good at surviving things that should kill us, and we are even better at making sure the things that try to kill us regret it. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council's vote. The alien blockade around Earth's solar system was now complete. Ships from 5 different species formed a tight net around humanity's home. No human vessel could leave without being detected and destroyed. Fleet Admiral Zixona stood on the bridge of his massive command ship, the Dominance. The hegemony officer looked like a giant beetle made of black metal. His compound eyes could see in 12 different spectrums, and right now they saw exactly what he wanted to see. A beaten enemy. Report, Zixona clicked to his communications officer. No human ships have attempted to break the blockade in 47 days, Admiral, replied Lieutenant Thias, a graceful being with 4 arms and skin like polished silver. Our sensors show decreased activity around their military bases. We are detecting what appears to be mass evacuation preparations on several human colonies within their system. Zixona's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Excellent. The humans are finally learning their place. What about their communications? We have intercepted several transmissions that appear to be surrender negotiations. They are discussing terms for voluntary restriction to their home planet only. No more colonies, no more exploration. In the ship's recreation area, junior officers from different species shared drinks and stories. The mood was festive. They had won without firing a single shot. "I still cannot believe the council was worried about these humans," laughed Ensign Krex, a young Zephyrian. His crystalline body sparkled with amusement. "Look at this footage from their military exercises." On the display screen, human soldiers ran through training courses. To alien eyes, they looked clumsy and slow. Their weapons seemed primitive. Their tactics appeared simple and direct. "See how they charge straight forward?" Krex pointed at the screen. "No subtlety, no proper formation, just run at the enemy and hope for the best." A Cathani officer nodded agreement. "My people have a saying, a warrior who cannot think is just meat waiting to die." These humans proved that saying true. What the aliens did not know was that deep in the Kuiper Belt, far beyond the orbit of Pluto, something very different was happening. Commander Seojin Yoon stood in the command center of a facility that did not officially exist. Around him, hundreds of humans worked around the clock on humanity's most secret project. "Dr. Che, what is the status of the stealth systems?" Commander Yoon asked. Dr. Hana Che looked up from her workstation. Her hair was messy from weeks of constant work, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "Beyond our wildest hopes, Commander. The new technology does not just hide our ships from sensors. It makes them effectively invisible to alien detection methods." "How is that possible?" "We studied every piece of alien technology we could get our hands on. Their sensors work differently than ours. They look for specific energy signatures, specific materials. Our new stealth coating absorbs those signatures and mimics the background radiation of space itself." Commander Yoon smiled. "And the ships themselves? Ready for final testing?" "We have managed to build 17 vessels using the new design. They are smaller than traditional warships but far more maneuverable. More importantly, they can work together in ways alien fleets cannot." Meanwhile, scattered throughout the solar system, other preparations were underway. Lieutenant Colonel Jiho Nam led a team of intelligence specialists who had spent months studying every alien ship in the blockade. They knew the layout of each vessel, the habits of each captain, the weaknesses of each design. "The hegemony ships are powerful but predictable," Nam explained to his team. "They rely on heavy armor and straight-line attacks. The Cathani prefer single combat, ship against ship. The Zephyrians coordinate well but panic when their formations break. The Etherians have excellent sensors but weak weapons. The smaller species follow whoever seems to be winning." Major Yeji Song nodded as she reviewed the data. "So we break their formations first, then exploit their individual weaknesses." "Exactly. But we need to make them think they are facing a conventional attack until it is too late for them to adapt." On the edge of the asteroid belt, Captain Wanho Jiang guided his ship Silent Runner through one final surveillance mission. The small vessel was invisible to alien sensors, allowing Jiang to move freely among the enemy fleet. "Recording their shield. Harmonics now," reported his sensor officer. "All ships are broadcasting on standard military frequencies. They are not even trying to mask their communications." "Why would they?" Jiang replied. "They think we are defeated. They think we are preparing to surrender. They have no idea what is really coming." Back on the alien flagship, Admiral Zixona received his daily briefing. Everything was going according to plan. Human activity had decreased dramatically. Their colonies were being abandoned. Their military forces were standing down. "Admiral," Lieutenant Thias said, "we have intercepted a transmission from the human government to their outer colonies. It appears they are ordering a complete withdrawal to Earth itself." "Perfect. Soon they will be contained on one planet, where they belong." "Any word from the Galactic Council?" "They are pleased with our progress. Several council members have suggested that humans might make acceptable servants once they are properly educated." Zixona's compound eyes glittered. "Yes. They are learning that resistance is futile. Soon they will understand their proper place in the galactic order." What the Admiral did not know was that the surrender transmissions were being sent from a single facility on Earth's moon. The real human colonies were not being abandoned. They were being quietly reinforced and supplied by ships the aliens could not see. In a secret bunker beneath the lunar surface, Admiral Ki-hyun Lee coordinated the final preparations. Banks of monitors showed the positions of every alien ship, every human asset, every piece of equipment that would be needed for what was coming. "How many ships do we have ready?" Lee asked his staff. 43 combat vessels, all equipped with the new stealth technology, replied Captain Min Jae Kang, plus approximately 200 support craft in the special surprise package Dr. Che has been working on. "And our pilots?" "Every volunteer we could find. They all understand this is a one-way mission for some of them." Captain Soyeon Ryu's voice was steady, but her hands clenched slightly. "They are ready to do what needs to be done." Admiral Lee looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed alien positions. Blue dots showed human forces, most of them invisible, to alien sensors. Green dots marked human colonies that the aliens believed were abandoned, but were actually more heavily defended than ever. "The aliens expect us to break out with everything we have," Lee said. "They expect a desperate charge toward the outer systems. They have positioned their forces to stop exactly that kind of attack." "But that is not what we are going to do," Captain Kang said with a grim smile. "No, we are going to do something they cannot expect, because they do not understand how humans think. They believe strength comes from size, from numbers, from following rules of engagement. They are about to learn that sometimes the smallest predator is the deadliest." On Earth, President Yoon-ji Choi met with her top military advisors for the final time before the operation began. The mood was serious but confident. "Madam President," Admiral Min-ho Kim said, "all forces are in position. The aliens believe we are preparing for surrender talks. They have no idea what is about to happen." "Casualties?" the President asked quietly. "Unknown, but likely heavy. The volunteers understand the risks." President Choi nodded slowly. "And if we fail? Then at least the galaxy will know that humans do not surrender quietly. They will know that when you try to cage us, we show you why cages were never built strong enough to hold what Earth produces." Dr. Soman Lee spoke from her position at the conference table. "Madam President, I have spent months studying alien psychology. They have never encountered a species like us. They do not understand that our greatest strength is not our technology or our numbers. It is our refusal to accept defeat, even when defeat seems certain." "Then it is time they learned," President Choi said. "Admiral Kim, you may begin the operation." High, above Earth, invisible to alien sensors, dozens of human ships began to move. They did not head for the outer system as expected. Instead, they positioned themselves for something the aliens could never have imagined. Admiral Zixona stood on his bridge, confident that another day would pass quietly. His sensors showed no human activity beyond normal civilian traffic. His intelligence reports indicated the humans were close to complete surrender. He had no idea that death was moving silently toward him through the dark spaces between the stars. He had no idea that the humans had been watching his every move, for months. He had no idea that in a few hours he would understand exactly why the Galactic Council had been right to fear humanity. The trap was set. Soon, it would be sprung. The attack began at exactly Oro 300 Galactic Standard Time. Admiral Zixona was reviewing his daily reports when his sensor officer suddenly straightened in alarm. "Admiral, human ship approaching our position. Single vessel, broadcasting surrender, codes." Zixona's compound eyes focused on the main display. A human ship was indeed approaching, moving slowly with all weapons powered down. It looked damaged, with scorch marks along its hull and flickering lights. "Ship identification?" Zixona demanded. "The Defiance, sir. Captain Tae-yang, O commanding. They are requesting permission to approach for formal surrender." A rumble of satisfaction passed through the bridge. Finally, the humans were showing proper respect. Admiral Zixona settled back in his command chair, savoring the moment. "Allow them to approach, but maintain weapons lock. These humans are known for deception." Captain Tae-yang O's face appeared on the communication screen. He looked tired and defeated, with a bandage across his forehead and his uniform torn. "Admiral Zixona, I am Captain O of the Earth Defense Force. I have been authorized by my government to discuss terms of surrender. About time, Zixona replied. You may dock with our ship. Prepare to be boarded and searched. Understood, Admiral. We just want this to end peacefully. The Defiance moved slowly toward the alien flagship, passing through the outer ring of blockade ships. Alien crews watched from their viewports, pointing and laughing at the defeated human vessel. On the bridge of a Cathani warship, Commander Velkar spoke to his crew. Look how they crawl to us now. Where is their famous human stubbornness? Where is their refusal to surrender? His crew laughed in response. The humans were finally broken. The Defiance reached the center of the alien formation and prepared to dock with Admiral Zixona's flagship. But instead of extending a docking tube, something very different happened. The human ship suddenly split open like a flower, but instead of petals, dozens of smaller craft emerged from hidden compartments throughout the hull. Each small ship carried a single pilot and enough explosives to cripple a warship. Squadron leader Daeun Shin led the first wave. Her fighter had been hidden inside the Defiance's cargo bay for the entire approach. Now she burst free, targeting the alien flagship's shield generators. All units, this is Storm Leader, Shin transmitted to her squadron. Execute Phoenix Protocol. Show them what humans do when cornered. 17 other pilots followed her out of the Defiance. They had volunteered for this mission knowing they would not survive it. But their sacrifice would save thousands of human lives and show the galaxy that humanity would not go quietly into the night. Admiral Zixona stared in shock as the small human fighters swarmed around his ship like angry wasps. What is this? How did they hide so many craft in one ship? But the real surprise was yet to come. As alarms began blaring throughout the alien fleet, space itself seemed to come alive with human warships. They appeared from nowhere, emerging from the dark spaces between asteroids, rising from the shadows of planets, materializing as if they had been invisible. Admiral Ki-hyun Lee commanded the main assault from his flagship Soul's Pride. The ship, decloaked directly behind a massive hegemony dreadnought, catching it completely by surprise. All ships, this is Fleet Command. Execute Wolfpack Protocol. Remember your training. Work together, trust each other, and show these aliens why Earth breed survivors. The human fleet moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Instead of forming rigid battle lines, they flowed around their enemies like water, each ship supporting the others in an intricate dance of destruction. Captain Min-jae Kang led Red Squadron against the Cathani ships. The proud warrior race preferred single combat ship against ship, but the humans refused to fight that way. Instead, 3 human vessels would coordinate their attacks against each alien ship, striking from different angles simultaneously. This is not honorable combat, Captain Velkar transmitted angrily. Face us one-on-one, as warriors should. Honor is for people who can afford it, Captain Kang replied, then ordered his squadron to concentrate fire on the Cathani ship's engines. We are fighting for our survival. Meanwhile, Captain Soyeon Ryu's Blue Squadron took advantage of the Zephyrians' weakness. The crystalline beings fought in perfect formation, but that formation became a liability when the humans attacked from multiple directions at once. Commander Hyeon Bae led the most dangerous mission of all. His team's job was to board enemy vessels and capture them intact. The humans needed alien technology, and they needed prisoners who could provide intelligence. Bae's boarding pod smashed through the hull of an Etherian cruiser, and his Marines poured inside. The Etherians were peaceful by nature, unused to close combat. They surrendered quickly when faced with humans who had trained for exactly this kind of fighting. Ship secured, Bae reported. Minimal damage to their computers and systems. Intelligence. Teams can begin downloading their databases immediately, but perhaps the most devastating human attack came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Nari Cho sat in a small ship far from the main battle, her fingers dancing across computer interfaces. She was humanity's best cyber warfare specialist, and she had spent months learning how alien computer systems worked. Admiral Lee, this is Cyber Command, Cho reported. I have successfully penetrated their communication network. I can make their own systems work against them. Do it. Within minutes, alien ships began receiving false orders from their own command structure. Zephyrian vessels were told to change formation at critical moments. Cathani warriors received combat instructions that sent them directly into human ambushes. Hegemony ships found their targeting system suddenly unreliable. Admiral Zixona watched in horror as his carefully organized blockade dissolved into chaos. Human ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts. His own vessels were turning on each other due to communications confusion. His proud fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that should have been helpless. How is this possible, he demanded. Our intelligence reports said they were preparing to surrender. Admiral, his censor officer replied. I think those reports were exactly what they wanted us to believe. The battle raged for 2 hours. When it ended, half the alien fleet was destroyed or captured. The other half was fleeing toward the outer system in complete panic. Admiral Zixona himself sat in a holding cell aboard a human ship, still trying to understand what had happened. Captain Tae Yang. Oh, who had seemed so defeated during his surrender approach, stood before the captured alien commander. The bandage was gone from his head, revealing that his injuries had been fake. His torn uniform had been replaced with a clean one. How? Zixona asked simply. You studied our military history, Captain O replied. You looked at our wars, our weapons, our tactics. But you missed the most important thing about humans, which is, we are persistence hunters. On our homeworld, humans hunted animals much larger and stronger than ourselves. We did not catch them with speed or strength. We caught them by being smarter, more patient, and more determined than our prey. Captain O activated a holographic display showing the battle from beginning to end. You set up this blockade expecting us to try to break out with brute force. You positioned your ships to stop a conventional assault. You never considered that we might use misdirection, stealth, and coordination instead of raw power. Your ships, how did you hide them from our sensors? We studied your technology for months. We learned how your sensors work, what they look for, how they process information. Then we built ships designed specifically to avoid detection by your systems. Zixona stared at the tactical display in growing understanding. You let us surround you. You let us think we had won. Also, we would become overconfident and careless. Exactly. You came here expecting to cage humans, but you made a critical mistake. You assumed that being surrounded meant we were trapped. Captain O smiled grimly. You never considered that maybe we had surrounded you. The aftermath of the battle sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. News of the human victory spread quickly, carried by the surviving alien ships that had fled the battle. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive suddenly found themselves reevaluating everything they thought they knew. On Earth, President Yoon-ji Choi addressed the planet in a televised speech. Today, humanity has shown the galaxy that we will not be caged. We will not be restricted. We will not surrender our right to explore the stars and build our future among them. She paused, looking directly into the camera. But we take no joy in the lives lost today, human and alien alike. We fought because we were forced to fight. We destroyed because we were given no choice. To those species who tried to contain us, we hope you have learned that cooperation works better than domination. The President's final words would be remembered. Throughout galactic history, humanity asks for nothing more than the right to exist and grow, but we will never ask permission to survive. In the wreckage of the alien blockade, human salvage teams worked to rescue survivors from both sides. Dr. Soman Lee coordinated medical aid for injured aliens, proving that humans could show mercy even after victory. Why help us? Asked a wounded Zephyrian officer. We came here to cage your species. Dr. Lee looked up from her work treating his injuries. Because that is what humans do. We fight fiercely when we must. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was very different from the confident gathering 6 months earlier. The Great Hall buzzed with nervous whispers and fearful glances. Representatives who had once laughed about human weakness now looked pale and shaken. Ambassador Velthar stood at his place, but his usual commanding presence was gone. His blue scales had lost their shine, and his four eyes darted nervously around the room. The news from the Sol system had reached every corner of the galaxy, and none of it was good for the species that had supported the human blockade. The reports cannot be accurate, Belthar said, his voice lacking its former strength. A single species cannot defeat a combined fleet of 5 civilizations. It is impossible. But the evidence was sitting right in front of the council. Admiral Ki Hyun, Lee and diplomat Jian Lee represented humanity today. They looked calm and professional. Nothing like the defeated primitives the aliens had expected to see. Councillor Thexel's crystalline form flickered with agitation. Our fleet was the most powerful force ever assembled in this region of space. How did you accomplish what you accomplished? Admiral Lee stood slowly. Unlike his predecessor, Admiral Kim, who had spoken with quiet sadness, Lee's voice carried the confidence of victory. You want to know how we won? The answer is simple. You fought the enemy you expected to fight, not the enemy you actually faced. Explain, demanded Velthar. You studied our history. You looked at our wars, our weapons, our previous battles. But you made the same mistake that many of our enemies on Earth made throughout history. You assumed that our past tactics would predict our future actions. Diplomat Lee activated a holographic projector. The air above the council floor shimmered, and suddenly the hall was filled with 3-dimensional images from the battle. We are going to show you exactly what happened, she said. Every detail, every decision, every moment from our perspective, and when we are finished, you will understand why the vote you took 6 months ago was the worst mistake this council has ever made. The first image showed space near Earth, apparently empty except for the alien blockade. The alien ships looked massive and intimidating, arranged in perfect defensive formation. This is what your sensors saw, Admiral Lee explained. A beaten enemy, ships that appeared to be evacuating colonies, communications that suggested surrender negotiations. You saw exactly what we wanted you to see. The image shifted, and suddenly the same area of space was filled with human ships. Dozens of vessels that had been completely invisible before now appeared as blue outlines. This is what was actually there, Admiral Lee continued. 43 combat vessels, all equipped with stealth technology specifically designed to defeat your sensor systems. We had been in position for weeks, waiting for the right moment to strike. A murmur of shock rippled through the council. Councillor Thexel leaned forward, his crystalline body brightening with anxiety. Impossible. Our sensors are the most advanced in the galaxy. Dr. Chaewon Kim, a human military analyst, stepped forward to address the council. Her voice was calm and professional, like a teacher explaining a lesson to confused students. Your sensors are indeed advanced, Dr. Kim said, but they were designed by civilizations that fight in predictable ways. You look for energy signatures, metal compositions, and movement patterns that match known ship designs. We built our vessels to produce none of those signatures. The holographic display showed human ships up close. They looked different from any vessels the aliens had ever seen. Their hulls were covered with strange materials that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Our stealth coating does not just hide us from your sensors, Dr. Kim explained. It makes our ships invisible to most forms of detection. We studied your technology for months, learning every method you use to find enemy vessels. Then we built ships that could avoid all of those methods. The aliens watched in growing horror as the display showed the real beginning of the battle. The Defiance approached the alien fleet, looking damaged and defeated, but internal views showed that the ship was actually packed with small fighters and their volunteer pilots. Captain Tai Yang-o and his crew volunteered for this mission, knowing it was likely to be their last, Admiral Lee said quietly. They flew directly into the center of your formation, pretending to surrender so that our fighters could get close enough to disable your command ship. The footage showed squadron leader Diane Shin and her pilots emerging from the Defiance like deadly insects from a broken nest. The small human fighters moved with impossible precision, each one targeting a specific system on the alien flagship. Your Admiral Zixona made a critical error, Dr. Kim noted. He allowed an enemy vessel to approach his command ship without proper scanning. He was so confident in his superiority that he ignored basic military precautions. But the real shock came. when the footage showed the main battle. Human ships appeared from nowhere, moving in coordination that defied everything the aliens thought they knew about space combat. The Council watched Captain Minjae Kang's squadron attack a Kethani vessel. The proud warrior ship was designed for single combat, but 3 human vessels struck it simultaneously from different angles. The alien ship's shields, designed to stop frontal assault, could not handle attacks from multiple directions at once. "This is not honorable combat," whispered an alien observer. "Honor is a luxury for people who are not fighting for their survival," Admiral Lee replied. "Your species came to our home system to cage us. Did you expect us to follow your rules while you tried to destroy our future?" The footage continued, showing Captain Soyeon Ryu's attack on the Zephyrian formation. The crystalline beings had always fought in perfect geometric patterns, but those patterns became death traps when human ships attacked from above and below simultaneously. "You fight like predators," Counselor Thexel said, his voice filled with disgust and fear. "Yes," Admiral Lee agreed simply. "Because that is what we are. Earth is a death world where only the most adaptable species survive. We are persistence hunters who evolved to take down prey much larger than ourselves. You tried to make us your prey. You discovered that humans do not make good victims." The most disturbing footage showed Commander Hyon Bay's boarding action. Human Marines in armored suits moved through alien corridors with terrifying efficiency. When Etherian defenders tried to stop them, the humans kept fighting even after taking damage that should have disabled them. One particular scene made the entire council chamber go silent. A human Marine named Sergeant Kangmin Park had been shot 3 times by alien weapons. The injuries would have killed most species within minutes. But Park kept fighting, using his rifle as a club when it ran out of ammunition, then using his bare hands when the rifle broke. "They do not stop," whispered Counselor Thexel. "Even when they should be dead, they do not stop fighting." "No," Dr. Kim said quietly. "We do not stop. That is why your blockade was doomed from the beginning. You cannot defeat an enemy that refuses to stay defeated." The footage shifted to show Lieutenant Nari Cho's cyber warfare attack. The young woman sat in a small ship far from the battle, her fingers moving across computer interfaces with impossible speed. As she worked, alien ships throughout the fleet began acting erratically. "She turned your own communication systems against you," Dr. Kim explained. "Your ships started receiving false orders, incorrect targeting data, and conflicting commands. Within minutes, your carefully coordinated fleet was fighting itself as much as it was fighting us." The final piece of footage was the most devastating of all. It showed Captain Taeyang-o's last moments aboard the Defiance. The ship was badly damaged, life support failing, the captain wounded and dying. But instead of surrendering or trying to escape, O manually guided his vessel toward the alien dreadnought Eternal Victory. "Engine room, this is the bridge." O's voice came clearly through the audio. "Give me everything you have left. Full power to forward thrust." "Captain, the ship won't survive a collision," his engineer replied. "The ship isn't supposed to survive. But maybe Earth will." The footage showed the Defiance ramming the alien dreadnought at full speed. The explosion destroyed both ships instantly, taking Captain O and his crew with it. But their sacrifice opened a gap in the alien formation that allowed other human ships to break through. The council chamber was completely silent. Many of the alien representatives looked sick, some were trembling. A few had simply stared at the display in shock, unable to process what they had seen. "Your final transmission," Counselor Thexel said weakly. "What did it mean?" "Earth remembers. Earth endures. Earth prevails." Admiral Lee looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of alien representatives who had once laughed about human weakness. "It means that humanity has survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, and countless other disasters that would have destroyed most species. We have fought wars against our own kind for thousands of years and somehow managed to survive them all. We have been enslaved, oppressed, and hunted throughout our history, but we have never been eliminated." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Earth remembers every lesson learned through pain. Earth endures every hardship thrown at it. And Earth prevails over every enemy that thinks it can be easily conquered. Diplomat Lee stepped forward to address the council. 3 days after the footage was shown to the Galactic Council, everything changed. The same chamber that had voted to cage humanity now faced a very different decision. Representatives who had once mocked human weakness sat quietly in their seats, still shaken by what they had witnessed. Ambassador Velthar stood to address the council, but his voice was different now. Gone was the arrogant confidence that had marked his earlier speeches. In its place was something that sounded almost like respect. The Cathani Empire wishes to formally apologize to humanity for our actions, Velthar said. We acted out of fear and misunderstanding. We propose that the previous restrictions be not only lifted, but that humanity be invited to join this council as full members with expanded territorial rights. Similar declarations came from across the chamber. The Zephyrians offered trade agreements. The hegemony requested military cooperation treaties. Even the peaceful Etherians expressed interest in cultural exchange programs. When the final vote was called, the result was unanimous. 882 votes in favor of full human membership in the Galactic Council, 0 votes against, 0 abstentions. But when President Yoonji Choi received the news on Earth, her response surprised everyone. Thank you for the honor, President Choi said through the communication link to the council. But humanity respectfully declines full membership at this time. The alien representatives looked shocked. Councillor Thexel's crystalline form flickered, with confusion. You refuse? But this is everything your species wanted. Full recognition, territorial rights, trade agreements. Secretary of State Jungkook Seo stood beside the president as she explained humanity's position. We appreciate the offer, but we have a different proposal. Humanity will respect all existing territorial claims and honor current trade agreements. We will not interfere with the internal affairs of other species. But we reserve the right to explore and colonize unclaimed systems without requiring permission from this council. And if we agree to these terms, Velthar asked, then humanity will consider defensive alliances with any species that faces external threats. We will share certain technologies that could benefit peaceful development, and we will guarantee safe passage for any alien vessels traveling through human-controlled space. The council agreed immediately. They had seen what happened when they tried to oppose humanity. None of them wanted to risk finding out what humans might do if they felt truly threatened. In the months that followed, the galaxy transformed in ways no one had expected. Species that had once dismissed humanity as primitive now sent delegates to Earth, seeking to understand human culture and technology. General Taehyung Moon established the Terran Defense Academy in orbit around Mars. The facility quickly became the most prestigious military school in the galaxy, with alien officers competing for the chance to study human tactics. The key to human military success, General Moon explained to a class of mixed human and alien students, is not superior technology or greater numbers. It is the ability to adapt quickly, work as a team, and never give up even when the situation seems hopeless. A young Cathani officer raised his hand. But General, how do you teach someone to fight with such intensity? Your soldiers continue fighting even when severely wounded. How is this possible? It is not something that can be taught in a classroom, Moon replied. It comes from understanding what you are fighting for. When humans fight, we are not just fighting for victory. We are fighting for our families, our future, our right to exist. That kind of motivation cannot be faked. Meanwhile, Dr. Minji Kwan led cultural exchange programs that brought alien students to Earth universities. The visitors were amazed by human resilience, creativity, and adaptability. Many returned to their homeworlds with new ideas about cooperation and problem solving. The most remarkable thing about humans, reported a Zephyrian student, is not their technology or their military prowess. It is their refusal to accept that any problem cannot be solved. They approach every challenge as if failure is simply not an option. But the most significant change was in how other species viewed conflict. The human victory had shown that overwhelming technological superiority did not guarantee success. Several long-standing wars ended as species realized that determination and adaptability could overcome even the most advanced weapons. The new soul, humanity's newest exploration vessel, represented this new era of galactic relations. Captain Jinsu Yoon commanded a mixed crew of humans and aliens, all working together to explore unknown regions of space. Contact on long-range sensors, reported navigator Do-hyun Lim, a young human officer with exceptional skill at reading star charts. Alien vessel? Asked First Officer Yoo Jin-an. Unknown species. They are not broadcasting any identification, but their approach vector suggests peaceful intent. Captain Yoon had served in the fleet during the blockade crisis. He understood, better than most, how easily first contact situations could go wrong. Communications Officer Ko, transmit our standard greeting on all frequencies. Communications Officer Seungmin Ko, another veteran of the crisis, activated the ship's transmission. Array, this is the Earth vessel New Soul. We come in peace, seeking friendship and mutual understanding. Please respond if you wish to communicate. The response came quickly, in a language the ship's computers did not recognize. But the tone was curious, rather than hostile. They are requesting permission to approach, reported Ko after running the message through translation protocols. They say they have heard stories about humans and wish to meet us personally. Permission granted, but maintain defensive readiness just in case. As the alien vessel approached, Captain Yoon reflected on how much had changed. Before the blockade, crisis first contact with an unknown species would have been handled by the Galactic Council, with humans excluded from the negotiations. Now, human ships were often the first choice for exploration missions because of their proven ability to handle unexpected situations. The alien visitors turned out to be a peaceful trading species called the Wanderers. They traveled between star systems in great merchant fleets, carrying goods and information across vast distances. We have heard remarkable stories about your people, their leader explained through the translation system. They say humans defeated a fleet of 5 species using only 43 ships. They say you fight like the ancient legends of the great hunters who could bring down prey 10 times their size. Captain Yoon smiled. The stories are mostly true, but they miss the most important point. We did not fight because we wanted to conquer anyone. We fought because we were not allowed to live freely. Now that we have that freedom, we prefer to explore and trade rather than wage war. The Wanderer captain seemed pleased by this response. Then perhaps we can do business together. We have goods from many worlds, and we are always interested in new technologies and ideas. We would be honored to trade with you, Captain Yoon replied. But first, let us share a meal together. On Earth, we believe that the best partnerships begin with breaking bread between friends. Back on Earth, President Yoon Ji-choi met with her advisors to review the progress of human expansion into the galaxy. The reports were overwhelmingly positive. 17 new colonies established in the past 6 months, reported Admiral Min-ho Kim. All in previously unclaimed systems, all developed with full respect for existing territorial boundaries and our relations with other species. Better than we could have hoped, replied Dr. Soman Lee, now Secretary of Xenological Affairs. The Cathani have requested military advisors to help modernize their tactics. The Zephyrians want to establish joint research programs. Even the hegemony has approached us about defensive alliances. Any problems? Admiral Kim consulted his reports. Some minor piracy in the outer systems, but nothing we cannot handle. A few species are still suspicious of our motives, but they are keeping their distance rather than causing trouble. Overall, the galaxy seems to have accepted that humanity is here to stay. President Choi nodded with satisfaction. Good. What about our long-term plans? The Terran Defense Academy is exceeding expectations, reported General Moon via video. Link from Mars. We have waiting lists of alien officers who want to study human tactics. More importantly, we are learning from their techniques as well. The exchange of knowledge is making everyone stronger. Dr. Lee leaned forward. Madam President, I think we have achieved something remarkable. 6 months ago, the galaxy saw us as dangerous primitives who needed to be contained. Now they see us as valuable partners who can help solve problems and defend against threats. How did we accomplish this change so quickly? By proving that strength does not always come from size or advanced technology, Dr. Lee replied. We showed them that determination, adaptability, and cooperation can overcome any obstacle. More importantly, we showed them that we use our strength to protect rather than to dominate. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent communication from the outer colonies. Captain Jin Soo-yoon's voice came through the speakers with excitement. "Madam President, this is Captain Yoon aboard the New Soul. We have made contact with a previously unknown species called the Wanderers. They are peaceful traders who have been traveling the galaxy for thousands of years. They want to establish formal relations with humanity.